Okay. Hello, everyone who's watching us. This is Chad from the 2-Month Review, and I'm here as always with Brian. And we don't even need to do this intro because we actually recorded half of this podcast before coming on here. We had a long conversation with Angela Rodell about the translation of the Physics of Sorrow, which if you're listening to the podcast, it'll be on there. So she's in Bulgaria. We couldn't really have her broadcast live because right now it's like, I don't know, 3 a.m. Bulgaria time. So
how do you pronounce, is it so, we would say Sophia, but is it Sophia?
It's Sophia. I said it wrong on the podcast.
That makes me feel better because I say everything wrong anyways. So.
I remember when I was there, I think I said Sophia or Sophia, because that's what I think of it as. And everyone's like, no, it's Sophia. It's Sophia. You're doing it wrong. But now I can't keep any of it straight.
It's like when I was in Indiana one time, and they have a Carmel, Indiana, which is the nice part of it's like the nice rich part of town outside of Indianapolis. And I kept calling it Carmel because I'm from out west. So they're like, Carmel. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. Just like it's Versailles. There's a Versailles. And the worst was when I was in Ohio, they have Lima, so I kept calling it Lima.
Yeah.
and somehow it's Lima. Like,
right, yep, Lima, Ohio.
It's tough being American because we can't pronounce anything, and so,
And everyone in those local regions,
anything internationally, you're just like the dolts, right? There's no way around it.
And everyone who's from that local region insists that they're right.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
In Illinois, we had Peru instead of Peru.
Are you serious?
Yeah, Peru.
Yeah, there's also what's with these Peruvian names up in like the Rust Belt? This makes no sense. What would they be up there for? There's no reason to be up there.
They don't want to be there. No one wants to be there. Ooh. Even here, we have Riga instead of Riga.
Really?
Yeah, just outside of town. You've driven through it, I'm sure, on the way to the highway.
So wait, so this part of the conversation is after we've already talked with her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we could reflect on that. It was fun.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I think she's great, and she's really smart, and she's really like energetic and enjoyable to talk to about this translation stuff because she's not. I mean, she doesn't seem too hung up on it, and she realizes like the challenges of it, and just goes about and does the best that she can. And I think that I find that really refreshing. I find her very fun to talk to.
I was really impressed with how like she really seems to be a fan of the book first and foremost.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, I would have been nice to ask now that I've had some time to think about it, if for translating, does it matter that you really like the book or not? I'm assuming you have to be passionate about the work and very passionate about the author to want to spend however long it's going to be.
Unless you get a big paycheck, then you'll translate Haruki Murakami or whatever.
Yeah. Hold on, let me mute you real fast so I can yell at my kid real fast.
Okay. I think we could see the mute symbol.
Oh, good.
Perfect. Yeah, I would think that you'd want to be energetic, but I've talked to translators who have translated books that they haven't read.
Really?
That they read it as they're translating it. In fact, like one of the famous translators, Charlotte Mandela, who does Matthias Enard's books, she talked about how she enjoyed working that way. She'd read enough of it. Like she'd read some of the book or get a sense of it and read around in it, but not read it page from cover to cover. And then when she'd start translating, she'd treat it as if she were like almost like the writer, like trying to figure out like what's coming next and like what is happening. And then she'll go back through obviously and revise her translation and work on it. But she likes the idea of like kind of discovering the text as she goes along.
That was the other thing I really enjoyed from our conversation with her, was the part about trusting your instincts as a translator. Really, the best part was just the one question I asked.
Yeah,
Chad.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
No, but I find that really interesting because I always, I don't translate anything, but I felt like if I was translating, I would struggle with. I don't want to put words in the author's mouths, or I don't but it's really about trying to capture that intent and presenting it for. It's almost kind of like you're marketing it, right? Like it's There's the art of translation. It's like there's a science aspect of it, but there's translation is an art, and so part of art is putting yourself into it.
Yeah.
So I really like that idea of, trusting your instincts and
going for it. There is
do you find that though with some translations say that you don't want to take on or something, like it feels cold or flat or yes.
It feels my thing that I always tell the students at Plube at the workshop, whenever I feel like their thing's not working, it seems to me like they're using too many words frequently, and it comes across as that kind of cold dead. It doesn't feel written. It feels like they're just like putting all the words onto the page. Yeah. It doesn't have like a voice. It doesn't have that sense. There's like the book that I don't think we mentioned it on the podcast. I think it was after we hung up, but Adam Thirlwell's book, The Delighted States, is really interesting because it's about like world literature and like these kind of big trends of like how to describe reality through writing, and how there's been different tracks of this. There's like the trying to be very realistic, and then there's the books and the writers who just like treat the text as a game and as a play and as a text itself, and have more kind of wild things like Crabble, or Lawrence Stern is a really good example of that. And he talks about translation in that book and uses like, it almost becomes spiritual in a sense, but that the thing that gets through no matter what the translation is doing is the sort of style of the book. And that part can get conveyed. Even if something seems untranslatable, the style of it can still be conveyed in the translation. So he even uses like an example of a French translation of Lawrence Stern that eliminates most of the jokes because it is like edited, and it's like they thought certain things were obscene, so they sort of took out parts of the jokes about where it's referring to itself, and yet somehow it like got through to people who read it of like what this book was. So there's something mystical in a sense, and I think when translators find that part of it, you can feel that when you read their translation. It doesn't feel like too many words that are just there.
That's funny. I was reading a book on grammar. I think it was some English dude. The Glamour of Grammar, maybe it was called. I don't know. Great title, right?
Yeah. It's a selling title.
Yeah. But he was talking about reading the safety cards on an airplane, and it has all the different languages. And he was counting exactly how many words were in the Spanish line. And then he would count how many were in the French line and how many were in the Vietnamese line. And then he would go to the English line, and he kept finding, more often than not, because the English language is so humongous, there is a particular word for just about everything. And so you can you can actually shorten things down in English if you want to. And so there's this great responsibility with English of, having this cumbersome, 900,000 plus dictionary of all the different languages that it's absorbed at some point, or now the new made up words like or whatever is the word of the year. But like you said, having too many words, like if you're really giving it that, like, so when I'm teaching writing, I'm always like, get rid of all these words. People don't want to read all these words. Just get rid of them, and your style comes out the more you can take away from it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's like so many of those. It's like the I'm just gonna script all the parts of grammar, so I'm not gonna guess, but it's all the like sort of the, this, then, and like
you can almost always get rid of that. You can Up and is never necessary. Down's never necessary. There's a lot of clutter.
There really is. And they usually have a problem with translating things passively. Like people will try and like, because I think that, I mean, this is maybe not, this is fairly uneducated, but who cares? It's, live podcast. But that a lot of the languages can use the infinitives in a different way than we can. So when we start translating into English, or using English like, to walk or whatever, instead of just walking or walk, it sounds very weird, and it sounds very cold and dead. Whereas I don't think that happens in other languages quite the same. It has a different feel. And it's a quick way to get young translators to make their prose more energetic, is to get them to do it all very active, and to take away all those to walk, to look, to the right.
Whoa, hot take. Use the active voice, not the passive voice.
Yeah, it's real controversial. But they won't notice. The thing is, it's weird. Like, I mean, I guess it's because it's your own work, but like a lot of times they just don't even notice until you start reading it out loud, or like point out, and then they're like, oh yeah, okay, you're right. Like I didn't even notice that. But
all right, well, maybe just to steer things back to the book for a second. What was this? We did 179.
Yep, 179 to 200.
To 200. Okay.
The story buyer, which is all of the stories that I mean, this was an idea that was mentioned earlier, I think. With like the idea of buying people's stories. Wasn't it Gostine's idea? One of his crazy
Yes. Yeah.
And so there's a bunch of different stories that are part of this one, a lot of which deal with betrayal. Like there's a lot of betrayal and infidelity in this section.
Well, we get to start off with abandoning babies, so I'm glad we didn't lose that.
We got to keep that in there. Every one of these has to have something horrible happening to children. Yeah. It's kind of amazing. I love that part. It's like, well, I've got four. I've got 4 kids. I sell one, I keep one. I sell one, I keep one.
I don't know. Maybe it's just the charged times that we're living in right now. But the line on page 179, right out of the gate, where it says, "They find you a doctor and you give birth illegally." That one jumped out at me. That I like. How can you give birth illegally? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not sure.
But it's just something like you have a right to give birth. Like you want to give birth, give birth. Like the idea of giving birth being illegal, or what makes somebody illegal in a country or not? Like it's just an interesting. It's just kind of like, man, that one really struck me when I read that.
Isn't it? Is it maybe really dealing with like on a very banal level, like just healthcare, like that because they're sneaking into a country, right?
Yeah.
And finding someone who's a relative and saying like, oh, this person is my relative. Like you can.
You want to cross the border in the winter so you can wear baggy clothes so they can't see that you're pregnant. And but the idea of like an illegal birth is just. It's like, I'm going like, no, it's not allowed here. No loitering. Get out. Like what?
Get your baby making body out of here.
Yeah, it's awful. It's like bleak to think about it, but it feels like it's the path that we're going on.
God,
it's kind of miserable to read.
It really is. I like that even on the next page on 181, there's a bit about I also buy happy stories, but there aren't many sellers of those.
Yeah, I have that underlined actually.
Yep, absolutely. It's so funny because it's true. Like, how many happy stories do you really want to read?
When I was first learning, well, I guess not learning, but maybe just first taking a writing course. This was like, I don't know, 20 years ago, maybe. One of the exercises we had, because it's not a writing class unless you're doing generative stuff in class, was to write about work, like a bad day at work.
Oh yeah.
Like what, so you're doing that and we're sharing it. And then this one gal stands up and she's like, I love my job. I have nothing bad to say about work. So, and the teacher's like, nobody wants to hear a happy story about work. So you don't have to share yours.
Yeah. Your experience doesn't count.
Your joy doesn't count. We only write about things that make us angry.
your joy is illegal.
Yeah.
Get your job out of here.
I totally connected with that. I also buy happy stories, but there aren't many sellers for those. I thought exactly of that moment of, oh yeah, never write about happiness because nobody wants that to read them.
Unless it's like a romance novel. It's got to end in happiness, right? Like those books that we read so frequently.
Yeah, think of a Disney movie and somebody dies in it probably. There's got to be some sadness in there.
There has to be struggle. The thing that I thought was cool, though, on page 184, so it referenced this part here. It says, for several years now, a book under my name in German translation that I never wrote has been circulating around the web. Ding Kunst, Kant und Singernossen by Weiser Verlag 2005. You can look it up. It's real. It's in Amazon.
Oh, you did look it up?
Yeah, I immediately looked it up because I was like, I think I remember doing this before, but I couldn't remember if I found it or not. It comes up immediately on Amazon, and it says it's by Georgi Gospodinov. It's a German book, and the title I think just translates as "Ding." Oh, I forget what it was. I looked it up though too. It's nothing super compelling or makes a lot of sense. And it's from Weiser Verlag. It's March 31st, 2005. There's no reviews of it. And there's like no information about it. And there's no description, but it's for sale. There's one left in stock on Amazon for $53.06. Plus free shipping. Yeah. So who knows?
I'll look for it at a garage sale.
Yeah.
That's what I learned from our talk earlier. You can rock somebody's world with a garage sale.
Absolutely. Super funny though. It's cool that's like in here. It's like part of this book being like both real and not real all at once, and like invading. It's in a way like we haven't the next book that we're probably going to do for this is by Dubravka Greshik, who I don't think you've read before, have you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so she does a lot of things with this idea of like in the book Fox, a lot of stuff revolving around like how an event gets translated into fiction and gets created into a novel or whatever, and taking like the real life and sort of playing with it. And a lot of her stories and a lot of her essays tend to have like a real solid element of reality to them.
Yeah.
And they're never quite clear as to where she blurs the line, which is sort of that kind of common like personal essay thing, but she does it really well and in a really interesting way. And she reminds me of Gospodinov in these moments where he like takes that real bit and uses it for a larger joke or a larger story.
Yeah, it really blurs. This one blurred in a couple places when he was talking about at the wedding dinner with Rushdie. Yeah. That felt like it was probably real. Like
I feels like
don't
that
know.
Too.
I mean, I don't care if it is or isn't, but it just I wanted it to be real, so I imagined it like, yeah, he probably, of course, a writer in Europe met another writer, and you know.
Yeah. I remember the first time I met Salman Rushdie, I was just like, holy shit! Like this is the guy who like our local in Bay City, Michigan.
That's right. He did a reading at Open Letter, right?
Yeah, he and Umberto Eco mentioned here. It was the very first reading that we ever did. So both of them together, right at the U of R, and it was the huge event. It was the biggest event we've ever done, obviously, because they're like the most well known. But I remember when I first met him too, like where I grew up when Satanic Verses came out, there was a bomb threat against our stupid little mall in Essexville, Michigan. Like it's not like a hotbed of anything. But because of Satanic Verses and the fatwa and all that, there was like the threat. We got evacuated from the mall, all that kind of fun stuff. And I met him. And I was like, dude, you're the guy responsible for that. And now he's like just everywhere.
I bet some guys went to Michigan to think about bombing it and thought, oh, somebody must have already done it because this place is a shithole. Bye.
This mall is literally just a B. Dalton's and a Kmart. Like,
man, even the Orange Julius is closed here. This place sucks. Let's go.
We never even had one of those, man. That'd be a step up. I think they got an Olive Garden recently.
Oh, look out.
I believe Essexville still has a TCBY.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that one really did feel real too. Even like some of the stories, like it's almost like this is a great chapter for like him collecting stories or including stories that he has collected over the years. Because as a writer, I'm sure you have a million people that tell you like, oh yeah, I got a story for you.
Hey, here's one you can write,
I'll give this to you for free.
I'll give you a great example. Somebody came up to me. I was doing a profile pieces on some Doctors Without Borders things. And one of the people that was an EMT came up and was like, hey, man, I've got the best idea for a story for you. Tell me what you think. It's like Die Hard, right? But the main character is an ex-SEAL, and he's a janitor now because it's at the top of this building. And then the top of this building has all sorts of lockdown protocols because it's carrying government secrets. And some terrorists show up while he's sweeping the floors, and it locks the building down. And he has to use his SEAL training and the janitor equipment to foil the terrorist plot.
Oh, man.
It's like Under Siege meets Die Hard. And then he drops this one on me. But wait, the main character is black.
No, there you go. Totally.
Yeah, sounds great, man. I'm on board. That's, you know what? I don't know if I'll have time to write that one, but I like the idea. Then I got like, well, why does what? First of all, why has the Navy SEAL become a janitor? Like that guy has so many wonderful skills and training, and he's gonna be a janitor? Like what?
People who become janitors are people like me who have no other skills.
Exactly.
like, not if you can like.
Clearly, the Navy SEAL is going to have a podcast and then sell books. The Clint Eastwood, they makes movies out of him. Like that's what he's going to do. It's not going to be a janitor at the top of a building.
Always at the top of the building too.
Well, the top floors because it's special. It's a special building.
He said, if you're a SEAL trainee, you're a better janitor than other people.
Yeah,
probably pretty quick at it.
Yeah, he's good with dealing with long hours. I don't know.
Oh my
but it's basically just Die Hard. Like you realize they made this movie and it was really good. It was called Die Hard. It's really good.
And besides, if you're selling that kind of idea, write it yourself.
I know.
I don't think that's the kind of book that requires a real professional writer.
Tons of people that come up, I find out I write, they come up and tell me, oh, I got the, you'll never believe this. This is a great story for you.
This woman just got in my cab. She was telling me about her shitty husband. Doesn't have any money for some reason.
Yeah, that's fine because a definite shift in voice there too. He kind of played around with voices and each story kind of had a different way it was told with different different styles even.
Yeah, absolutely. This is great. I think I like this section quite a bit, but we don't even have to go on that much longer since we have a whole huge podcast for you guys ready to go. I don't know. Is there any other section that you wanted to mention out of this, or do you have a favorite quote? I do have a favorite quote for this one.
Okay. Yeah. What's your quote? Go ahead.
Oh, no, I got to find it. Oh, there it is. This is my favorite part. To tell you the truth, I've always thought that the people they show on TV, the most famous ones, don't actually exist in real life. They must be some kind of computer animation or hologram. Don't you doubt the existence of Madonna or Brad Pitt even a little? which totally plays into my belief that we're all in a simulation. So I'm on board. I don't believe that they're real.
I liked I underlined something on 180. At the bottom of the section, it says, without a story, it was all nothing but business. Telling stories is part of Judgment Day because it makes people understand.
That's great. I like that too. It's a good section, really fun section too. And then next week, we're going to have to make an announcement somewhere, but we do not want to be doing this next Monday at 9:00 during the national championship. because I
meant to tell you, I had a sealed envelope that had my Final Four pick, and it was all correct, by the way. So
well done.
I was going to unseal the envelope, which has the date written on it when it was sealed, and I got all 4 correct. So
I believe that.
What I'll do, though, is I have another sealed envelope, which I will release on live that will show that I have picked maybe the correct finals. So we'll see. But this is proof. I'll open it live.
Okay.
You'll see that I was right. Yep. I was wrong about San Diego State, but I was right about every other one.
All the rest of it.
Except for that one.
Except for that. Yeah, well, clearly. Yeah, but you have to have one.
Pretty good. Pretty amazing.
Too bad that Tom's Texas Tech is out now. So
yeah.
Tom came with the knowledge and then left with the non-knowledge.
Yeah. My favorite, though, like what a wonderful place that you could be where you're one of the basketball experts. They shit the bed on every pick, get everything wrong, and then now they're up there telling you, Loyola Marymount Chicago is for real. You need to believe in them. They were a real Final Four. Well, if they're such a real team, how come none of you picked them to make it to the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8 or the Final Four? Like, you're all liars. Shut up.
I believe Charles Barkley had Arizona playing Michigan State in the final, and both of them didn't even last 2 games. Neither of them made it to the next weekend.
Yeah, nobody cares about brackets, but let me tell you about mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love the idea of being so wrong and then be like, I guess that's like with reading books and stuff. A lot of people, will hate a book when it comes out, and then later when it finds out that's actually a good book, they'll turn and be like, yeah, it's a good book. That's a great book.
People's opinions are obviously swayed by other people's opinions.
Yes. Yes.
It's important to know. Well, anyways, thanks, man. I will talk to you soon, and we will figure out what we're doing next week. But in the meantime, you guys can always buy the book on Open Letter's website. If you use the number 2 in month, you get 20% off. You can follow us on Twitter at open_letter, and I'm at Chad W. Post, and you're at Brian Wood _.
That's right.
And we have jokes and comments and all kinds of fun stuff.
Just real quick, are we reading then from 201 to
236, I believe?
Oh, dude, you guys are missing a page number on here. Look at this.
They're
234.
You're right. 234.
That's awesome.
And there's a blank page, which I don't know why that's there.
It's just meta. It's something I don't get what the gamesmanship is, but it's a postmodern play.
It quite possibly could be, and once you read it, it'll be like, oh yeah, obviously, duh. But like at this moment in time, I don't remember why that would be there. So, oh well, it's a good, nice long section to dig into. I forget who our guest is next week, but we do have someone lined up, and that will be that. And then we should say, just as an announcement, the next book will be Fox from Dubravka Greshik, and then we haven't really talked about this yet, but we have some ideas for post that too, to expand this outwards and do more different books and other titles that aren't just open letter books, but we'll get to that later. But for Fox, that book comes out technically on April 21st, I think. But we have copies in the office. People can order them. We won't start the next season right away. There'll be a few weeks in between, but if you want to buy the book now, do it. I know that it's being reviewed in a bunch of different places over the next few weeks, and being put on those kind of books to read in April lists. So it should be a really quick selling book. So get your copies now before we have to reprint it.
So is it we'll only do translated books?
I don't know that we have to do that.
Okay.
I'm going to cut the podcast right around there, but we can just sort of have this conversation. Anyone who's watching can chime in. I don't think that we have to, but I think that would be nice to do some, but also like be mixing like an open letter book and then a book from other press, open letter book from a different press, and sort of merge the two.
Yeah, I thought it could be fun. Just maybe keep it small presses or something.
Yeah.
Only from the presses that you like. Do you like any other presses? Are there any?
One or two.
One or two. We can do from one of those.
Yeah, but I think it would be fun to sort of branch out and include them and get more people involved in that way too.
Do you know what would be a fun thing to do? Maybe slightly mean-spirited is maybe one of those awesome self-published books that are on Amazon. That those people have like the huge platform, and we pump buying books off of Amazon, the self-published ones. We could bring the self-published author on, have them talk about
only if they're 99 cents.
Yeah, no, and we'll talk about it very seriously, like as much as possible.
Oh my God. One of those John Locke books.
So when your protagonist, Rayford Magnum, blows away the terrorist with his Colt 45, I'm curious, why that caliber? You could have chosen anything.
So he was a SEAL, ex-Navy SEAL, and now he's a janitor?
Yeah. His name would probably be like Jackson Stone or Steel or like something.
Well, it has to be
something just rock hard.
They're all. I saw. Yep, exactly. But yeah. So anyone who's listening or watches this part, like if you have recommendations of books, send them along. I mean, the ones that work well seem to be ones that are pretty long that can be broken up into these different parts. But otherwise, like I think we have a great platform. We've sort of got an idea on how to do this, and it's fun to like be paying so close attention to these books. And I do want to keep doing open letter ones, but I don't think we have to restrict it to that per se.
If you know of any books about Navy SEAL janitors that stop terrorist attacks, I'd like to read it. So.
Yep. You're going to find out that that's like the #1 best-selling book in the country right now.
Of course it is. Of course it would be. I missed out on it. Hey man, I gave you first right of refusal.
And you laughed at me.
Yeah, I didn't laugh at him. I was actually really nice about it. Oh wow, we were high pitched. Oh, that's a book. Yeah. You don't know what to do. You just go high pitched. What do you think? Well, I think
an idea.
Yeah.
Oh my God,
that's something.
That sure is an idea that you have right there.
That is a thing. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, thanks, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All righty, man. Don't eat your baby.
Oh, we'll try not to.
Night.
Hey.